So we're going to start some CSS now, and for this second video, I'm going to be looking at mainly a simple layout using CSS to lay out our elements on the page. Now it is a very simple layout. We're mainly working linear, vertically from top to bottom. Still layout nonetheless. Let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is add what we call a reset. Now you guys can see and know that all browsers have some style default, however rudimentary. We can see that the H1 here is rendered bigger than our H2 and so on and so forth. We want to override some of those things, and we do that with a what we call a reset declaration. And they're many and varied, and mine is going to be very, very simple. I'm just going to reset the margins of every element on the page back to 0. And I can target every element on the page by using a star. So if I add a star and then a declaration of a property, a margin property, and set that to 0, that's going to make sure that all of my elements have no margin, because you can see there that all of those elements did come with some margin inherent in it. So I've reset that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to target the HTML5 elements that I'm using to structure the layout. And they're going to be, firstly, the main element. So we can see here that everything on my page is nested inside a main tag. So I'm going to add main. I'm going to target that main tag. I'm going to open up those brackets so I've got a little bit of space to write some declarations. And I'm going to add a new property, which is going to be, well, I'll start with width. Okay, so we can add a property of width, and I'm going to add it in pixels, 600 pixels. Okay, so that means now that this main element is 600 pixels across, and I'll add a background color just so that we can see that. Background color. It's going to look pretty intense. So you can see now that our main element stretches across the page for 600 pixels. I'll just take out that background color. We'll come back to that. You can see that when I move the kind of browser across there, I'm condensing that main tag or that main element. But in actual fact, it's still remaining at 600 pixels wide, and it's flowing out of the browser window. Alternatively, we can add the property max width. So that sets the width of an element to whatever value you put, in this case 600 pixels. But if the browser width is lower than 600 pixels, it'll actually condense into that space. So it kind of looks the same, but it's doing something a little bit different there. I'm going to take the red background out. Margin again, I'm going to add a margin. So this is a box model element to the main tag. And I'm going to do a little bit of a kind of a hack here. If we looked at adding a single figure, single value to the margin property, and you can see that that's adding in 20 pixels of margin all the way around. There's actually a logo here that we can't see because it's white. And remember, if I added another value, if I added 2 values, it's suggesting that there's 20 pixels top, bottom, and 50 pixels left and right. Okay, if I exchange that left and right value for the value of auto, what it's going to do is it's going to work out the width of the viewport, okay, and automatically assign equal measurements of margin to the left and the right side of that main element. And I might just put that background color back in so that we can see that. So you can see here I've got certain amount of X margin here, and it's equal to X margin on the right hand side, and you can see that when I drag the browser around, that main element's going to float in the center, which is exactly what we want for our email newsletter. Wonder what I should do now. I think maybe I'm going to add some styles to the body so that we can kind of change some of those, change the color in the background there. So let's add, we'll target the body. We'll come back to the body and add some more styles to the body when we're getting into typography. But for this video, I'm going to add a background color. And I'm going to add a hexadecimal value. And my grey, I've just got it noted next to me, is 858585. So quite a dark, mid-tone kind of grey like that. I'm going to add a colour for all the text on the page too, which is another grey. $7F. So you can see all of my text on the page has changed to that kind of that grey colour. I'll just remove that background because it's pretty horrible. Okay, it's looking a bit janky at the moment, but we'll fix it up. We're going to look at targeting the header. So we've got our header here, which has an image in it. We can actually see that image now, but in our design, it's a green kind of color in the background. So let's add a header. Let's target the header and angle brackets. A background color with that green. And it's, just looking at my notes, 79C142. Excellent. So I picked those colors out of my Photoshop layout that I've made using the color picker. It's very easy to kind of take those notes. Inside the header, we're going to add some padding. And I think 40 pixels. Actually 40 pixels top and bottom, and then 20 pixels left and right. So that's looking good, looking as my design specified. Getting those rounded corners. So a lot of your designs have these rounded corners, and we do that by adding or adjusting the property of border radius. Alright, now if I add a single figure for border radius, it's going to add equal rounded corners all the way around. But if I add a second figure, it's going to do alternating corners. And if I add 4 figures like so, I can end up with just rounded corners on the top and the bottom. And of course, I'm going to do the same for the section component. So we've got our header, which we've implemented quite nicely, and we've got our section. So that'll be the next thing that we look at. Target the section, add our space for our declaration, and obviously we're going to look at the adding the corners. We've got to add a white background and also set the padding, just like we've done with our header. So the background color is going to be white, which you write as 6 Fs. Super good. We'll add some padding to just space out that content from the edges a little bit. Remember, the padding incorporates the background color around the elements. So 40 pixels top and bottom and 20 pixels on the left and right. Super good. I'll just save that. And then that border radius at the bottom of the page. So again, border radius, and it's the reverse. So it's 2 zeros, 20 pixels, 20 pixels to get those nice clean round edges down the bottom there. I think that's getting close to what we want to achieve today. 2 more things. I'm going to do some add some padding to the footer and change the alignment. So let's do that now. And footer. So you can see in our HTML, here's our footer section. It's just got one link in it at the moment. So we'll target that section and we'll add padding. And it'll just be 40 pixels all the way around. And I'm going to align the text differently down in the footer. The text is going to align, to the center. Excellent. So that's looking good. One last thing, just around kind of the general layout and structure here. I'm going to target the images inside my section. So we'll just start with targeting all images. So if we can see here that got an image that I brought in from Unsplash. If I target that with IMG, I can set the width of images on the page. And I'm going to set them to 100%. And that should fill out my image a little bit better. So that's looking good. It did, however, target the logo at the top of the header as well. So if I target just the images, that's going to target every single image on the page. And that's not exactly what I want. I want to just target the images inside the section heading. So what I might do is preface that image with the section. Oops. So if I say section and all images inside the section, and then add my declaration, I'm only going to target images that are inside that section, and that section exists there. And then that leaves that top logo intact.